The macro controls offer access to the most commonly needed parameters to get some really great tactile, musical, expressive control over your instrument. Now, instead of having to dig into the edit page and alter the attack time, we can just alter this parameter here. Now, it's not tied to this attack specifically, but we don't need to think about that. All we need to do is move it. Now, these are automatically assigned to MIDI continuous control numbers. And if we click here, we can see the assignments and we can modify them. Now, I have a Novation Impulse keyboard controller, and I want to use my knobs, and I want to start by adjusting the attack. And I'm just going to press the Learn button, turn this, and now turn the knob that I want, and there it's reassigned. So now I'm going to record some movement and alter the attack of the notes on this line. Let me create another track here with the same instrument, and I'm going to put it into record mode and play in the attack alterations that I want. Okay, so there we see the data, and here it is. If I look in my editor here, I can have it view that specific controller number by going here. I'll go to the other message, and I'm going to call up CC27, which is what it was. And there's the data. That's when I cycled back around to the beginning. And we hear and see that it sounds nice. Now, the action that I was using was mostly around the 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock position for this particular sound and this particular part. So if we want, we can go into the control page over here, and this is the macro that I reassigned. We can adjust the minimum and maximum values. You need to double click here to do this, and I can set it to maybe 40 until about 80. That way I'll have a finer resolution on the throw of my knob between those values, since I don't need anywhere outside of those. So that's an interesting way of doing it. Now, another control to really make use of is the expression control. This is basically volume control independent of volume and velocity. So this is one of the ones I use a lot when I'm programming up orchestral instruments. So on top of this MIDI attack that I've done, I'm going to assign another controller here. So let's click Learn, move that, and I moved another knob here. And now I'm going to write in some expression, which will basically alter the dynamic range of the volume of the instrument. So there I've written in a different MIDI CC message. Let's go take a look at it over here. And that was 26. And there it is. That's the expression I wrote in. And again, I'm using a limited range, so I can do the same thing and alter the minimum maximum if I want to get the most out of the range of my controller that I'm using. But this makes for a much more expressive performance. So those are a couple of ideas on how you can use the macros. Same thing for the release of a note, and the cutoff affects the filter control. So that might be an interesting one to subtly automate a bit as well, and even offsetting the sample start, which is very useful. It's another way of softening the attack. And then we have the 3 bands of EQ. We have some general controls here. But of course, we can get into more detail on the effects tab over there. Now, another scenario I want to look at is using the edit page to create velocity split instruments. I've got an initialized multi here, and I'm going to call up the fortissimo sample in the first slot of a fresh multi. And then I'm going to call up the mezzo forte sample, and then after that, the piano sample, and then finally the pianissimo sample. Now, I'm going to set these all to the same MIDI channel. Now, as it is now, they'll all be triggered at the same time, which isn't really what I want. I want them all to be triggered at unique velocities. So in the edit page, I'm going to go to part 1 and set the velocity range, the high at 127, the low at maybe 116 or so. 115 is fine, or 114, that's fine. And then the second part, I'll have the highest one be at 113, and we can use the shift key to get fine movement here to zero in where we want. And I'll set the low one to be, let's say, in the 90s, somewhere around there. That's fine. And then the third one I'll have start now at 92, which is right under the last one, and have it go maybe till about 65, which is fine. And then the last one I'll have start at 64 and go all the way down. So now when I'm triggering different notes at different velocities, we'll see that the different instruments are being triggered. And I'll play this little sequence of notes, and here I have the velocities edited so they're ascending and then descending, and you can hear and then see the different velocities and the different instances being triggered. So that's a nice way of creating a multi-velocity split kind of setup. And once you do this, of course, don't forget to go into the multi and then save your multi. And you can save these as well right from the edit page in these drop-down menus here. And similarly, the mix page has the same type of window. We can even get a different view of the icons if we want. So this is Eli Kranzberg signing out. I hope you've enjoyed these videos and gotten some ideas on how to get the most out of Philharmonic 2. I think it's a fabulous update to what was and still is more than ever now an incredible sounding orchestral library. Enjoy, God bless, have fun, make great music, and I'll see you next time.